大家好，歡迎參加 ADHD Awareness Week 2022嘅講座環節。我係今日嘅主持 Jonathan。今日我哋好高興請到新加坡一個 ADHD 組織 Unlocking ADHD 嘅 Jimmy 作為嘉賓。Jimmy 除咗係 Unlocking ADHD 嘅總監之外，亦都係一所出名嘅婚姻介紹所 Lunch Actually 嘅共同創辦人。而我哋今次好高興請到 Jimmy。分享下究竟 ADHD 會點樣影響 ADHD 朋友同其他人拍拖同埋建立關係。我哋今日嘅講座題目係如何尋找你的另一半 ADHD 對愛情的影響。同嘉賓開始傾偈之前，我想問一問各位觀眾一條問題：你認為 ADHD 會否影響你去追求異性？事不宜遲，我哋而家同 Jimmy 傾下偈。Thank you very much for your time today. Yeah, let's say hi to the audience to Hong Kong.
Hi everyone, I'm Jamie. I'm from Unlocking ADHD. I'm a director there and from Singapore. Nice to meet you all.
All right, so thank you very much for your time, Jimmy. Today we are talking about ADHD and its impact on love and relationships. Let's start with this statement. People with ADHD are great lovers, but feel challenged to commit to long-term relationships. What do you think about this statement?
I think it's too overarching. So it's too overarching to say all people ADHD are like that. Reason is the ADHD also has a range. So sometimes you are mild, sometimes you are extreme, sometimes you're somewhere in between. So that could also affect this statement and how accurate it is. People with ADHD also sometimes come with other conditions. So for example, someone could come with anxiety, or someone can come with narcissism. So that is likely to have a very, very big impact on the statement, right? So it is too broad to say all people with ADHD like this. There are also life experiences. So someone with ADHD will have to, for us to say that, you have to factor in the person's life experiences, all their conditions, as well as what's the range they are in before we could make such a general statement.
I appreciate you say that. Because ADHD is like the spectrum. Some people are more affected by ADHD than others. So, and people also have multiple conditions, and that could affect their capability to build relationships with others. But let me refer to my experience. Some ADHDers would like to find partners. However, most ADHDers are hesitant over disclosing their ADHD to partners. In your view, when should ADHD tell their partners about ADHD?
I mean, we give the same advice for every other condition or any other things that is like this. Same principles here when it comes to people with different neural conditions. So for first dates or the first few dates, you generally just don't overshare. You may feel obligation to because you're fearful you waste the other person's time. You want to be totally transparent, or you want to let the person know first so that they are ready. But the problem is if you overshare and you just give so much information, oh, I have ADHD, and as a result, I'll do this. For first date, frankly, it's just come off a bit weird. Okay, come out as trying to just trying to explain too much. However, saying that if it comes out naturally in the first few dates, that the person maybe say, oh, I have ADHD, then it's fine. I have ADHD too. That is also a more natural way, but in a sense, the first date, just remember the first date is just to get to know the other person in a very general sense, but it's also for you where you put your best foot or first impression forward. And your objective here is just simply to see if you can make a connection, make an impression, or just simply have a fun and good time with the other person over this first date. Okay, it's not an interview process where you have to review everything about yourself. After the first few dates, you explore, you all talk, generally there's a connection there. And that's when you start to think more about it, right? But only after that, only after the first exploration stage. So don't overshare in the beginning, but in the parts where, after a few dates or maybe a month plus of dating, and you feel, hey, Rick, there's something going on well with this person, there's something I'd like to explore. I'd like to get to know this person much better and maybe see if this could be something serious. Then in this case, that is probably a better stage along this middle stage to start to share. The reason is just this. Unfortunately, ADHD, depending on your range of it, comes with some negative traits also. So sometimes you would just want a little bit or more understanding of some of these traits, but you don't share as it's the biggest confession. You just say, oh, just share as it is. I have ADHD. So sorry, I was a bit late or something. You just do it in a very normal, natural sharing, casual way, rather than make it like, oh, sorry, I have ADHD. Are you sure you want to consider me? Or that type of thing. Not that type of seriousness. Sometimes because in the exploration, it's good to share ADHD trait in the middle because, like I say, sometimes ADHD people have this thing called time blindness. So, so it's not that you want to do it, but sometimes you are actually naturally a bit late. Or, there's some sort of times where you start to have a lot of energy and start to do a lot of things in different directions. So with that little bit of awareness to the person you're exploring with, could help her be more understanding in this stage of the exploration.
If you tell your dates that you have ADHD, even during the first day, then it can be real. But if you bring up ADHD laterally, what ADHD is, the impact of ADHD on your life, provided for people with ADHD, then because when there is a mutual trust, then bringing up ADHD may even help you to build a closer relationship with your partner. But let's move to dating. I know that your wife and you have a very successful dating agency named Lunch, actually. I'm a person with ADHD. If I would like to use dating agencies, how may I know the chance of getting the dates? Quite often, some ADHD may give up finding a partner, since others may say, you better manage your ADHD first.
I feel ADHD has both good things and bad things. And it's important we just are aware of both pros and cons, okay? Maybe I'll start with some of the potential disadvantages with people with ADHD when it comes to dating. So one thing I mentioned, time blindness. So it's not a very good idea to be late for all your dates for very long because that will leave a poor impression. So awareness will help you realize, hey, you know what, I have this tendency. So you know what, I'm going to set an alarm and I'm going to create a system so I'm not late for the dates, at least for the first few dates, by taking extra care, extra systems to make sure that doesn't happen. Because why? I have a tendency for that to happen, right? So that's why awareness is important and consciously balancing these tendencies. So another thing with people with ADHD, sometimes they could come across as poor listeners, right? Because this person could be sharing something and then we get bored and then we get distracted. And then and that short moment where we are actually distracted for a while, we could come across as, not interested or worse, rude, right? So when it comes to dating, obviously it's good to try to minimize that impression. So the awareness, once again, will tell you, you know what, you're getting bored here, but control yourself a bit. Don't start looking away and start reading your emails or something like that. So balance that awareness help you balance that tendency a bit. Okay. Also, maybe people with ADHD, there's a tendency to want to explore too much, to meet a lot of people, and in the end, like your first statement, not want to settle down. That's more in the more perhaps serious spectrums. So that is where we have to be aware. And awareness that we have this tendency to want that direction. And that could also seem real, but it's also contrary to an innate human need. An innate human need to want to eventually find the one and settle with the one and have someone you can really share your life with and to be extremely close with. So that is something that I think awareness helps to balance the not so positive points when it comes to dating. As I mentioned, there are pros as well. So ADHD people, we can be very spontaneous, and this nature, we could make the dating journey actually a bit more interesting than the average dater. So suddenly you say, oh, let's go to do something fun, and that is makes dating maybe less mundane, and these are even maybe a much stronger impression compared to other daters. Okay, so that is advantage, but at the same time balance, right? If you are too hyperactive and you want to do too many things, then also it comes off and it backfires. ADHD people also, as mentioned, we said when we are interested in a topic or subject or interest, we are very passionate and we go in very deep in. This is actually a good thing in dating. Why? Because people like people who show mastery, who show passion. So when it naturally comes up, when you talk something you're interested in, the passion can't help but seep in to the conversation. And when a person talks to someone who is passionate about something, immediately, and they can see in the body language, the tone of voice, everything, suddenly they will pay more attention. Wow, this guy is really interested in this. He's really, really passionate about it. Wow, okay. And generally is that intensity is something that makes people notice you. It makes people, oh, this person has character because he's really passionate about this. And this is important in dating because that is, you want to leave an impression and not be just this very nice guy that has no interest. However, saying that also, we have to be careful. If we go too much in the topic and we go so passionate, we keep talking about it, and there's your poor date, getting very bored, getting very, oh, when is he going to stop talking about this? Or she's going to stop talking about this. So we need to also be aware where it becomes a liability, and that's where we need to temper this down also. As mentioned, ADHD people are also hypersensitive, so we're intuitive to how the other side is feeling. This is a great advantage in dating because you're able to say, oh, she's really liking this part of the conversation, so I'm going to expand on it. So these are some of the advantages, and finally, there are advantages and disadvantages. Anything taken to extremes, of course, is not a good thing. So that's where being accepting that and being aware is going to play a big role here, and practice.
Yes, I believe that you managed to raise lots of very good interesting points. So first of all, strength and weaknesses are relatives. But let's dive into one of the issues you mentioned. It's about looking too much. Because for some of the ADHDers, so allow me to say, male ADHDers, they talk about one of the challenges is finding a date is they always look at the girls, but they pay more attention on the physical appearance first. So it can be a challenge for them to find a long-term stable relationship.
You may want to know it's not just people with ADHD. For males, we are all visually, our initial short-term attraction triggers are always going to be more visual. This is not to do with ADHD, it's due to biological triggers and how we evolved. Okay, so however, saying that, to be fair, for ADHD, this is taken to another extreme. We put, okay, so once again, it's the ability to be aware of it. Okay, so if we are not aware of it, then we think whether we are only when you're interested or someone, we need that feeling, that visual trigger, and if it's without it, it's not love. And honestly, Hollywood and the popular culture doesn't help because it in fact reinforces this belief that without that physical visual attraction, especially for men, it's not love. ADHD taken to another level would make that even worse. So with awareness and with some temperance, we are able to realize that there's more to dating. Okay, as much as that visual element is important, awareness would tell you to look more wisely beyond just the physical traits, but also the other important traits that will make a relationship successful, and it will be more of a long-term attraction. So someone with a value that you really, really admire and really, really appreciate. So the presence of that for that value could be very good for sustaining that relationship rather than just the physical traits. That is something men all struggle with, and it's something that awareness will help a lot. Or else we go to the extreme and then we never, because why the attraction will eventually drop down and then we will never choose someone, right? For women, it's the same thing. The awareness of ADHD it will also balance their dating journey. So it's instead of just all these traits that you need to start to be aware that ADHD is driving you to all these short-term traits as well. And it's important you also consider long-term traits, long-term values, long-term things that is going to be more healthy for you to develop a long-term healthy attraction to this person. So awareness and balancing it is very important.
I'm so happy that you talk about one's awareness is very important for building a relationship with others. I mean, but say I'm an ADHDer, so I managed to overcome some of the challenges in finding a mate, and now I'm trying to forge long-term relationships, like marriage. So, what do you think are some of the common challenges?
I mean, the challenges are definitely something that can be a problem. So people with ADHD, because they're hypersensitive, this often leads to a lot of problems. Okay, so in a sense that our partner says something, and the partner could have meant it in a very innocent way, or just say it with a tone that of a bit of impatience or something, and we are affected, and we feel like, oh, disrespected, or we feel upset about it, or they could just use a word that we didn't expect them to use, and it hurts us, and this is something that could affect us as well. So knowing that we're hypersensitive will help. Okay, so in sense, you need to ask yourself a question: am I being a bit hypersensitive now, over something? And then you need to assess this. If it's just a word or a tone, it's better you just clear it up than to let it bother you. Okay, so it's also important the person, hopefully you marry, understands that this could affect you more than the normal person, so that when they come to this situation where they talk about sensitive things, they are more careful about it, and they don't use tones or words that trigger you. Right? So they need the patience, and then sometimes, in the sense that some of the traits of ADHD would just annoy the normal average person, right? I have lost so many iPads, so many iPads gone. My wife is just thinking, what is wrong? She didn't know I have ADHD. I didn't know. She reached a point, what is wrong with you? Why do you keep losing things? Why do you keep leaving it behind? So so maybe even time blindness or disorganization, or sometimes we're so focused on something, they could feel you don't care about me. You're so focused on this all you care about. What about me? Or worse, you keep doing a lot of different things. Can you just focus on one thing sometimes, or not have such high energy, or be so hyper all the time, or be so intense? So all this, in a way, could all cause various problems and all that. So one thing, when you do have that talk with your partner, you do need to review that you have this, and for them to seek a bit of understanding, and for you to come up with a system that for them to be more patient about it. Or else it's going to be trigger after trigger after trigger, with that lack of awareness and the lack of systems to deal with the various problems. Okay? So part of it is to involve your partner to be part of the solution. So after Violet gave up on how forgetful I am, she's the one who looked whether I leave anything behind. Because naturally expecting me to do that is just going to be just not the most natural thing to happen, and I'm going to lose things. So as a result, she becomes part of my solution, which she looks after look at the table to make sure I didn't leave anything, and then we go away for dinner, or from the dinner table, things like that. So purposely engage your partner in it, and just seek understanding, and make sure that when it comes to this situation, that there's enough EQ involved to not trigger the other party.
I'm happy you mentioned all of the points, and especially the daily challenge of living together. And we will talk about it later. But let's focus on desired qualities of the partner for people with ADHD. And good personal qualities are essential for a relationship to grow. In your view, what are some of the essential qualities someone should have when developing a relationship with someone with ADHD?
As mentioned, those traits will definitely require qualities of having good EQ, high EQ. Many times we are not upset at what is said or why is it, because we know it. We are more upset at how it's said. So a person of high EQ is likely to be able to say it in the right way that doesn't trigger you or trigger the person with ADHD. As mentioned, patience and willingness to be part of the solution and team. So a person who is very impatient, who is going to be very critical, that's going to also trigger off the ADHD person, because you're going to say, oh, why are you so stupid and you forgot your iPad again? You're just so wasteful and irresponsible. So if you are going to be impatient and say all these criticisms, that was attack character. So we are particularly annoyed when people say things that attack our character, because we are trying our best, but our best sometimes means that these things still happen even though we try our best. So involve them, and really you need to make sure that they have that patience, they have that willingness to be part of the team, that they have that awareness that they have this need to have this amount of EQ to be able to be part of the relationship. All this lack of it will lead to a lot of triggers.
High EQ really matters. However, in reality, some ADHD also have ADHD partners, but some ADHDers have non-ADHD partners. And for the non-ADHD partners, lots of them, they wish to help the ADHD partners to live well with their ADHD. However, there can often be conflicts from daily calls to communications. And some ADHDers feel that they are being father or mother all the time. So apart from high EQ, how can non-ADHD partners support their partners to become better husbands or wives?
I think one thing is both sides have to sit down and set the rules and boundaries. Of course, for the sake of ADHD person, you can't have like 500 rules and 500 boundaries. So that's not going to happen. So start with a few. Okay, boundaries in the sense that you let your ADHD partner that, I know you have this, but in your pursuit of doing your things that you want and you affect your ADHD, crossing these boundaries or these lines or breaking these rules is going to upset me. So for example, a dinner table. Okay, so the ADHD person could go there, have the devices, constantly do a lot of things, not pay attention, not talk to the other partner during this during the alone time with the partner. So the example is the partner says, this is a boundary for me. When you are with me having a meal and having it, we don't use devices even though you are tempted to. Okay, you talk to me. This is an example of boundaries. Or maybe even boundary could be even related to the ADHD person telling the non-ADHD person, okay, when we're having conversations, can you don't use this tone? It really triggers me. Or can you don't use this word? It really triggers. Maybe this person grew up with this sensitivity to this word. Like, people could say, why are you so blur all the time? Or, and this word triggers. So maybe your boundary to your partner could be something as simple, just don't use this word against me. Okay, it triggers me, it makes me very unhappy. So set up a few of these boundaries and rules when it comes to some key areas in the relationship, so that when that partner crosses that line or rule, or they know they are about to cross it, they know it's wrong. They then know they have to back down because it's not a negotiable. You do not cross this rule. That's what you both have agreed on. So you both have to accept it. So I think this is one way that could help both parties to get a better sense of each other and reduce the tensions as well. And quickly, one party that crosses that line, they know they're wrong. Make amends. Say you're sorry. Make the amends. Make it right. Okay, so that is one advice I could suggest partners have for doing when one has and one doesn't have ADHD. Okay, acknowledging ADHD instead of saying, it's just an excuse, will be also very, very big part of it. So for example, when it comes, and you need to then apply it. You can't just acknowledge it and say, you have this, and you don't apply it. So let's say you all split up the chores for it, and then you know your partner has ADHD, and then you still choose to assign your partner with ADHD the most mundane, the most long drawn, the most the thing that that person with ADHD is going to suffer doing, then is in the end you're swimming against the tide, right? This poor guy is going to swim against the tide because of ADHD and he has to do this chore. So let's acknowledge it and just say, okay, you know what? These chores are more mundane, right? But these chores are less mundane, but they still have to be done. So in respect of your situation, and these things have to be done, and it still takes effort. Why don't you do these chores that maybe require you to work with your hands, require you to go for a walk to get it done, or it's less monotonous and has a bit more variety in it, so it's more suitable for your condition. So acknowledging it and applying it in the relationship would be actually very useful as well. So I mean, these are some small tips that I would suggest that could help the relationship. in
I
such
mean,
circumstances.
I mean, yeah, these are the interesting points because to me it seems like a boss giving out tasks to employees. So if you are a boss, then you need to know the strength. I mean, let's say you need to know the strength and weaknesses of your employee with ADHD, and then based on his strength and weaknesses, you need to assign the tasks accordingly. So likewise in the relationship, so you know, I mean, let's say you know your spouse has ADHD and you know what he or she is good at. For daily course allocations, that you need to take into your spouse strengths and weaknesses into account, and it also helps to create a good harmonious relationship. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let me move to another question. It's about marriage. For some of my friends, they're happily married, and they believe that finding the right spouse is the best decision in their life. For others,
Agreed.
they are unhappy. They're unhappily married, and sometimes they regret marrying a particular person, and they really would like to get out of the marriage. But we all agree that marriage requires work, lots of work. If you may, so let me ask how your wife and you work together for a happy, harmonious marriage.
I think it's a big point and something I mentioned before is we are very fortunate that we are in the love industry. Okay, so what does that mean? Means that if you're in the industry, you better be better be an expert, or you better do your research about it, right? Or else people will ask you and you are not going to know what to answer everything. So that has been had something that was a good thing. So most guys, we are going to say, oh, this is the relationship section of the bookstore. I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to go and read every other section, but I'm not going to read about the relationship section. So because I was in the industry, I made myself go to the relationship and love section, actually read about it, research about it. It's something that not something that came very natural for me, but in the end was a gift. The gift meaning that it taught me a lot of things, and the good books, the good research, and the good techniques really helped your marriage. And my ego, you see, if I didn't have that, my ego would have been too big to go there and do all this research. And fortunately, I was forced to do it, and that was the importance of it was bigger than my ego. So we are also both very fortunate that that we both read it and we both are willing to apply the lessons. So for us, for example, we are big fans of John Gottman. So John Gottman is this scientist that done research about relationships, and it's not something fluffy. He really did it based on science, on really studying the couples, really observing and applying the scientific method on it. So the type of advice he gave are all very concrete in his books. Okay, so our favorite one is the Four Horsemen. So this is something that all couples have to be careful of. So the Four Horsemen in relationships are contempt, criticism, stonewalling, and defensiveness. So because we learned about it, when we quarrel, we avoid quarreling badly. And that is really something that helped the relationship a lot. So we took really a lot of learnings from John Gottman and applied in our marriage, and it really helped. Okay? Another person is Terry Orbuch. Terry Orbuch is known as the love doctor in the US, but her advice is also based on 3 decades, 30 years of studying married couples. So she followed them from the point they were dating, the point they got married, to the point they divorced, or the point they still are together. So she did the whole study, and her advice is all centered on things that work as well. What's the commonalities? What's the similarities that make these couples divorce? Or what's the things that make these couples stay together? So for us, Violet and I practiced her 10-minute rule when it comes to our daily routines. We always do the 10-minute rule in it as well. So all this came together, and we're fortunate we're in the love industry, and we applied it to our marriage. Importantly, when you are married, you must be willing to be influenced. Okay, so I let these experts influence me. I didn't let my ego say that I shouldn't be influenced. I know the answers. As importantly, I'm willing to let my wife influence me as well. So the willingness to be shaped and influenced by other people will definitely help, because then you are able to be a version that can evolve, you can change, and can stop something a practice that's working badly for your marriage, and you're willing to listen to adopt new habits that will be good for it. self-awareness is also very important. So we are both, there's this personality quiz called DISC. So DISC is where you can tell which part of personality you are more in. So we are both Ds. What's that? What does it mean? We are both dominant people. What does that mean? We don't like people telling us what to do, and we like to tell people what to do. So this is very bad for marriage, right? Because both sides want the other side to want to tell the other side what to do. But awareness that we are both like that has also helped. So we both know when we tell the other side what to do, or we try to influence the other side to do certain things, we both know the other side will answer us back. They will sometimes call us back. They sometimes will argue it back because they will do it. But because we know that we are both like that, we would still scale it down a notch or enough for us to still get the message in, to still be able to accept the good things of what's being said and to put aside our pride to do what is necessary, whether it's for our business, whether it's for our family, whether it's for us. So the awareness also helps, or else we'll always be clashing and because we don't like it. So in this case, we don't like it, but we have enough awareness and acknowledgement for us to mitigate that dislike.
Oh, I like you
Ultimately,
mentioned.
I see my wife as part of the team, and we're working together to make everything work.
Yeah, I like you mentioning the word influence. Some of the couples told me that after marriage, they have become kinder, they have become more generous, or they become nicer. So, what is the biggest influence your wife has on you?
What's the secret influence of my wife have on me? I think, in a sense, when I got together with her, I knew she was. I mean, I dated that the time I was dating, right? We have this thing that. Okay, so I explain the story. When I was dating my wife, I asked myself, or I was dating someone else. So I was dating someone else before. I asked this question. Imagine this relationship remain like that, and I'm going to spend the next 50 years with this person. How do I feel? So with one person that was wrong, I felt this whole dread that reached in my heart. I realized, wrong person. The fact that I could feel this cold feeling. This is probably this question I answered. This means it's going to be 50 years of a nightmare, and maybe the things I'm attracted to are the wrong things. With Violet, when I asked myself this question, I had this warm feeling in my heart. I actually felt, oh wow, it will be okay. You know, it will be something. If it stays like this and doesn't change, it will still be okay. This is not to say the person you're with do not change or would not evolve, but you would be able to start on a better foundation with this person. And because we have all the traits that we are willing to let each other influence, we can evolve together in the right way. We can grow together in the right way. And we can change together in a way with this one value that is the most important for us. So when we got together, we both said this, the marriage is the most important thing. Because if you're not going to accept that, then your happiness at the moment is more important. Or some other things are going to be more important. My career is going to be more important. So because we both have this common belief that for our marriage to work, we are the most important thing in it. No matter what, we don't allow it to fail. We take all the steps to make sure it succeeds. And I think that's the one thing, the one influence we have on each other that really makes sure that we overcome all the obstacles. And this is not just us, but many couples that do last time, this is the same thing. Their marriage is number one. And that's how many people get through also, the ups and downs.
I like you saying that. So it's priority really matters. But let's move to another area. Some people say ideally marriage is only between two individuals. In reality, marriage is between two families. And some people say that their in-laws can be the major source of tensions behind a couple due to the comments on ADHD. How do you let your in-laws know about your ADHD?
So for me, as mentioned, we believe in transparency. The thing is, our parents' generation, they are less aware and less accepting of ADHD. Some even think it's just an excuse. You just can't be disciplined. So that is the uphill task you have to face even when you are being transparent with them. But still, in our view, be transparent nonetheless. it's still better you tell them and you're transparent with them and you explain to them and you educate them as much as you can, so that even though they don't accept it, they are aware. In the back of their minds, they are, this person has talked to me about this, and there's this as part of the play that's going on. Okay, so this doesn't change no matter their skepticism, there's still the need to communicate to them, to let them know of the ADHD and the measures you have done to deal with it, even if they don't accept it. And this is even more important if your kids have it, because you need to also let them know that your kids have it, and this is the tendency that's going to be. And in the end, I feel that transparency is going to result in more patience, even if they have that mindset, they're going to be more patient, they're going to be more understanding, even their skepticism. So that is how we deal with ADHD and our extended family. They all know our journey, our issues.
I'm happy you say this, because for some of the ADHDers, I know when they tell their in-laws about the ADHD, some of the in-laws show more understanding, whereas other in-laws, they ask tons of questions about ADHD. So at the end, some of them do get along with their in-laws, some of them don't, but life still goes on. But let's move to another part. It's about fun and romance. A successful relationship definitely needs fun, and a good couple also needs spend time on romance. But in your view, what are some of the strengths ADHDers can use to try to find and keep the ones he or she really loves?
Definitely mention spontaneity, because we have this slight tendency towards impulsive and doing something just there and then on the spot. This is something that could actually just liven up the relationship, break its routine and monotony. So that is also, sometimes people call it romance or something like that, but it is also a break of the usual pattern. You keep things more interesting and more fresh. So I think ADHD, we have a natural inclination towards that. Of course, we should do it with certain boundaries. So if your partner's timing, if the timing is wrong for spontaneity, you don't do it. Or there's some big responsibilities going on and you are spontaneous and you want to do the responsibility, you want to do this thing out of the blue, that's not going to work also. So do it at the right moments, and it's good for the marriage. And the partner will say, oh, my partner really knows how to cheer me up sometimes by doing something out of the blue. I think that is something I think that is a good thing for our relationships, and ADHD have a natural inclination towards. As mentioned, because we are hypersensitive, we are sensitive towards our partner's feelings as a result. So if you do, however, you still need to do something about it. So there's no point you are sensitive, you know something's wrong, and say, her problem or his problem. This is not going to work as well. So you sense something's wrong, be patient, be empathetic, talk to them, draw it out. Beginning, sometimes they don't want to share because they're just not in the mood. But eventually, they are going to remember this. You care. You care to try. And when they come out, they review it, they talk about it. Generally, if you do it the right way, you don't go around giving them solutions, okay? You just listen. Because we men, sometimes we want to solve it, right? Just listen first. You want to give a solution? Hold back. Don't give the solution. So just listen. And then when they ask you for the solution, then it's okay to give it. Okay. So that is something, the empathy we have, the sensitivity, we do it the right way, we listen, it's going to be very helpful for the marriage as well. And importantly, you communicate, and they know now, and they should know anyway, you care, you love them.
I agree. It's also about using your strength at the right time and the right place. But let me ask, is it important to understand your partner's personality? Some people like surprises, while some don't.
I think you need to know your partner you married. In a sense, very rare if you do a surprise that is pleasant for them. So you need to know what's their love language. Okay. So if the 5 love language for Gary Chapman is a very good book. So it helps you communicate in the language that your partner knows that you're telling them you love them. Okay. So what's the problem of that is when you surprise, but you surprise in a way that you communicate that you love them, but for them it's not something that they appreciate or they feel that you're telling me you love them, then there's a good chance it won't work. So for example, your partner's love language is gifts. but yours is quality time. Okay, so just showing two different ones. Okay, so suddenly you surprise your partner and you say, "Oh, I'm going to spend a lot of quality time with you today. We're going to take care of your routine and we're going to spend the whole day bringing you out, doing your things, everything, and we're going to do all sorts of meaningful activities and quality time together." And that's not your partner's love language. But that's your love language. So when your partner could accidentally reject it because it's not her love language, she said, "I have too much work now. I can't do this. I can't spend all this time. No, I have to do things. Don't throw me the surprise here. No, I can't do it." You then feel hurt, right? Oh, that's my love language, and you're rejecting it. How the surprise work is you do in her love language, gifts. Okay, it's her love language, gifts. Then you surprise her with something that's a gift. That's, it just brightens her day. And as much as let's say she loves flowers, give the flowers. Don't have the attitude. Oh, it's just perishable. It's not going to last. It's not going to have it for long. So throw that aside. Communicate with her a surprise that is in her love language. And by doing that, you're telling her in her love language, and she'll know it. I love you, and I surprise you with something that I know that tells you I love you. So that's perhaps my advice is to do it in the right love language.
You need to know your product preferences. But we are near the end of the interview. If someone with ADHD comes to you and that person asks you, "Hey, Jimmy, what does it take for me to draw the opposite sex?" What would you say?
I'll say in the end of the beginning part is about triggering attraction. Okay, it's not about just simply being that super nice guy, there's nothing wrong. You need to be able to trigger attraction. That means be able to make the person feel, hey, you know what? This person can be more than a friend. Okay, can be more than just a nice guy that I occasionally want to talk to. This person is potential life partner because she's able to trigger a certain amount of biological attraction with me. Okay, whether is it our dressing, whether is it our passions or the things that we give, the impression we give. If you are able to trigger attraction with the opposite sex and you know how to, then you have an edge. When you finally meet the one that you really want and you are able to trigger the attraction with him or her. Okay. And that's something actually people with ADHD, they do have certain traits of ADHD do have a slight advantage in being able to trigger attraction if done in the right way. But at the same time, for people with ADHD, just be aware of the things that could really break the thing as well. Like don't be take actions to balance the negative traits, especially in the first impression and the first few dates, until they become aware of their ADHD. Because if those traits are taken in an excessive way, it just dooms the attraction no matter what you do. There's a very big difference of being 5 minutes late or 45 minutes late. So you need to balance it. So that's what, for personal ADHD, that's what some advice I'll give. And play up your strengths and balance your weaknesses that comes with the territory.
Thank you very much for your time today, Jimmy. So after this interview, I will study my ADHD tricks, utilize them, and I also develop better self-awareness so that I know how to draw the opposite sex to me for the day. So thank you very much for your time today. So should we say goodbye to the audience in Hong Kong?
Thank you for having me. Everyone in Hong Kong, thank you for having me. I'm happy to share with you this, and thank you.
今日我哋好多謝 Jimmy 同大家分享咁多寶貴嘅知識，希望能夠鼓勵想結識另一半嘅 ADHD 朋友，了解如何使自己變成一個更加好嘅人，合有信心同他人分享 ADHD， 結識另外一半，建立長久嘅關係。各位觀眾，我哋嘅節目就嚟到呢度啦，我哋仲有其他精彩講座環節，記得留意住我哋嘅時間表同準時出席啦，拜拜。